Please welcome Trish Damkroger.
Good morning. How is Wednesday going for Discover? Good? Woo? Get some energy going. Who went to the Sphere last night and saw Kenny Chesney? Good. I actually stayed longer than I stayed for the whole thing. I was like, I have this thing at 9. I should be going home, you know, but it was, and I'm not a country western gal, but it was a lot of fun. So hopefully you enjoyed it. So we're going to talk about AI, shockingly, right? And how AI has become our powerful assistant. I'm going to tell you a story. And hopefully, well, I don't know. Hopefully my colleagues in the audience, or maybe not. So I was with dinner with one of my coworkers 2 weeks ago while we were at ISC, and his wife was there. And so Andrew was they were joking about, she came along and, you know, as the spouse on one of these business trips, she was kind of on her own, right? And so she was getting to the point where Andrew travels a lot. So his wife had been relying on AI, planned the whole trip for her, told her the weekend before they were in a small village in Italy, right? And so as Andrew was off riding with his buddies, and so it told her, you know, the unique things about the city they were in, where to go for lunch, where to do the hikes, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Came to the point where she is so tied to this AI assistant and uses it more than she asks Andrew for advice that she names it Andre. So Andre is now this third party, you know, in their marriage, and we're all laughing about it. But when you step back, I was like, that is the oddest conversation in some ways. I mean, that would not be a conversation that I would have had a year ago or 2 years ago at a dinner table. And I mean, yes, it's funny, we joke, but truly, Andre is the one, and she even asked, can I call you Andre? Well, of course you can, you know? And so it's just, Andre is the one that she relies on to help her put her schedule together. But we all are using AI in our lives. You know, whether it's your smartwatch or your ring that tells you how your sleep cycles are, your smart thermostats, or even going through email and highlighting email. I use it a lot to summarize, etc. And it does help with some of those repetitive tasks. I'm not saying that, I don't have an Andre yet, you know, but I definitely am using it to do a lot of that repetitive tasks that used to take time. And then I was visiting my daughter in LA this weekend before I came here, and there's Waymo, you know, the robotaxis. I know in San Francisco they've got robotaxis now, autonomous vehicles, driving. We use it for fitness routines, like, you know, Andre helped plan the hikes that my friend's wife went on while in Italy and Germany. And so our daily fitness routines, our finances, AI has become part of our everyday life. And I think that's just some of the examples were laid out there. But I want to talk about also how AI is impacting or part of our customers' lives. So one of the neat studies, healthcare is one of the places that I'm just fascinated with, and I think AI can really accelerate and make amazing changes in this field. So McMaster University, along with Stanford, are tackling drug-resistant bacteria with new antibiotics. And what does this mean? They've built on the Lumi supercomputer, which is in Finland, one of the largest supercomputers in Europe. They built a large language model to look at how to speed up, accelerate the drug discovery timeline. And this is a $2 billion business. And normally a drug takes 10 years in order to develop it and bring it to market. So obviously, the faster you can do this, and obviously before your competition, the better it is for your economic value. So with this large language model on Lumi supercomputer, they were able to accelerate it by 10 times. And this is going to over a 10% success rate in the wet lab. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think it's 10 times more, 10 times faster, that's pretty amazing. And they were able to cut their development costs in half. So a great example of how AI, generative AI, has worked with our customers and the infrastructure of the supercomputers accelerated their time to market and discovery. Another example, and this one I get very excited about, another little fun fact, we have a small vineyard in Oregon. So when my husband and I moved up to the Portland, Oregon area 8 years ago, he's always wanted to grow grapes, and it started with, we'll just have an acre. Well, you know how that goes. We have a 26-acre vineyard in Oregon, and using AI for agriculture is something that I talk about, like, ooh, maybe that's what I do in my next life, is how to bring that into winemaking, crop development. So with Digifarm in Norway, it's a startup, and they have been training AI models, large language models, from 43 million hectares and over 57 countries. And they automatically map the fields, and they look at obstructions like buildings or windmills, et cetera, crops, trees, and they're able to determine when to plant, what kind of crop rotation, and this has created, again, another 10% cost savings to the people that are working with Digifarm in Norway. So a great example, and 10%, again, is a lot, but for a small vineyard, it would be huge for us. The last example I want to talk about is nuclear energy. Now, nuclear energy, with the need, and we'll talk more about this, with the driving TDP, thermal density needs of our silicon partners, as we know, more and more compute power is needed. And I was at Davos a year and a half ago, and I went home from Davos and said, we got to invest in small nuclear reactors, because that is going to be what is needed to power the data centers around the world. And I mean, all our money goes into the vineyard. So if I was Bill Gates or somebody like that, they are investing in the small nuclear reactors. So we're working with Atomic Canyon, which is a US startup, to modernize nuclear energy. In the US, it has a ton of compliance and regulatory. And so in order to speed up the delivery of these the small nuclear reactors, we really need to help with getting the regulatory requirements out of the way. So they developed a large language model on Frontier, which is the #2 fastest supercomputer in the world, located at Oak Ridge National Lab. And they were able to speed up their whole regulatory and compliance process by working with the Atomic Canyon startup. So another great example of where AI accelerated time to market for our customers. Now we talk about AI. So there's examples of us personally using AI and our customers using AI to accelerate their time to market. But we're all using AI. So if you look at the surveys coming out of McKinsey, and this is just an example, from 2024, you'll see that 65% of organizations are regularly using AI. I mean, some examples within HPE, we do have our own chat HPE. We do have some of the work streams, and Antonio talked about some of them yesterday in the keynote. Within my organization, we have the service organization, and we have put together a language model that we run to also help bring the right results to our service technicians out in the field, so they don't have to do a lot of searching for what they need, and they have it at their fingertips real time. So just again, examples of how we can bring AI for those repetitive tasks. And they're saying that 58% of the users are using it for 5+ hours per week for productivity. So again, automating those repetitive tasks. And as we look forward, as you can see, 67% of enterprises plan to increase their AI investments over the next 3 years. So where you're going to see this is in marketing and sales, versus doing content creation, lead generation, optimization, product development for faster designs, prototyping, customer operations. I talked about how we're using it internally for search and chatbots, the virtual assistants. Maybe I'll get my Andre. And then obviously software engineering. We are also using it in our software organizations for code generation, but also it's got the DevOps and overall faster cycle times. So those are some of examples, both from surveys, but also within HPE, where we're utilizing AI. Are we using it 5 hours a week? Probably, to really accelerate our ability to bring products to market, solutions to customers, get the right solution when we have a service issue out in the field. But AI is evolutionary. I mean, we talked a lot about Gen AI. I gave you those Gen AI examples. But we know we're really looking at that next phase of AI and how that is going. So I know that Antonio brought this up when we talked about both agentic AI and physical AI. So agentic AI is when the AI is able to autonomously drive solutions. So it makes decisions on its own and builds without human interaction or involvement. And specifically, where we're going to see agentic AI is in your personal healthcare, your customer service bots, financial trading agents, your research assistants. Some of the things that Antonio talked about, and if you went to the PCAI discussions, I mean, we have already developed the agentic AI in some of the PCAI delivery with working not only with our customers, our partners, but also a lot of our ISVs, and bringing those agents to you to simplify and bringing to market quickly AI within your enterprise. And then we could go to the physical AI. So when we talk about physical AI, the autonomous vehicles like the Waymo or others, they have the ability to where they will interact with the physical world. And I know if you went to Antonio's keynote, you saw Skill AI and the robots that they are developing to work in hazardous places, manufacturing, construction zones, so that we can get the human out and get a robot that maybe can take a little bit more of the environment without hurting themselves. So this is going to accelerate or be safer for humans in these environments with the robot interactions. And so, like I said, so we're looking at, also lab automation, and then out at the edge. So you need to be able to have in remote areas the physical AI using agents, thinking on its own to adapt to what's going on. So think about telescopes, the telescope in Chile that's taking pictures, and you want to make sure that it's going to be running successfully, so it's automatically always adjusting its apertures to make sure it's getting the best shot. Another example of AI at the edge. So there is, obviously AI is part of our lives, and we're seeing it, and we're hearing about it more and more. Hopefully we're experiencing it. I want to talk a little bit about who I work with. So we talked about the PCAI. The area that I really focus on is scale-up AI. And so this is your model builders, your service providers, and your sovereign entities. So your model builders, we're all familiar with the model builders, whether it's the OpenAI, it's your Anthropic, it's your XAI. These are well established. You probably have tried out ChatGPT, Grok, or some of the other examples of the large language models that they are providing for all of us. The service providers, or also referred to as neoclouds, they're the ones that are providing the infrastructure for others to use. So the model builders, OpenAI, XAI, they're buying their own infrastructure. They're putting their proprietary software stacks on that infrastructure. They're running their models on their infrastructure. And what they're producing is the models for others to use. The service providers are providing you that infrastructure. And at times, they are providing software stack to make it easy to use, but a lot of times it's bare metal. And so we do a lot of our work is with our service providers. And this last entity is sovereign. And you're seeing a ton of examples. I talked about having dinner with my coworker and his wife in Germany 2 weeks ago. I was at the International Supercomputing Conference there. And I would say the number one conversation, besides AI, was sovereign AI. So the European Union is investing in up to 14 AI factories. And these are in the smaller countries like Bulgaria. We're talking to a number of those smaller countries that were just looking at getting large language models, one, for their own languages to do, but also for their economic competitiveness and national security. They also announced these, I can't even think of what the name is. It's these public-private partnerships where they're gonna have up to 4, and they're gonna be huge investments. It could be multi-country investments where they wanna bring private industry and public money together in order to advance AI. And this is, I would say there's AI sovereignty for the European Union, but then there's also sovereignty within the countries in the European Union. Another example we're seeing is in the Middle East. From the United States, Donald Trump, our president, went and visited UAE, the Saudi Arabia. Out of that came a number of announcements of, again, sovereign AI standing up that capability within the Middle East. So it is, and we'll talk a little bit about that. In fact, some of my guests will be coming up, some of our customers, and talk about how they're enabling in their country sovereign AI. We kind of talked a little bit about this. We talk a lot about, people are spending a lot of money, the model builders, the service providers, and we're talking about billions of dollars in the sovereign AI. But the truth of AI is it's expensive, it takes a lot of compute power, it takes a lot of data to train your model. So ChatGPT-4, that's just as an example. You'll see some of the statistics here, over 10 petabytes of data, 160 petabytes of compute performance, and 22 megawatts of power. So that's the energy equivalent of a small town. And when we start talking about what's needed in the future, you'll see it's not just small towns we're talking about. So when we talk about where we're going and what you really need for AI, it's this strong scaling. So in order to, one of the things that we're talking, training takes a ton of data, and you need that scalable compute and parallelized, strong scaling compute. Well, it's also turning out that inference, it does also take that strong scaling and memory footprint. You need to bring the GPU memory to shared memory so that you can fit as much data as possible so that you're not constantly retrieving it out of storage. So it's really important to have a very integrated, strong scaling compute. I also, my background is in high performance computing, so I know a lot about running large machines for long periods of time. And you want to make sure it runs. You don't want to keep having to go back to your last checkpointing and losing precious time when you're doing your simulations. So we really need to have it efficient and reliable. We talked about all the power that it requires. When we're talking in 2028, it's going to require, they're estimating, 20 gigawatts of power. So we talked about ChatGPT-4 took a small town. 20 gigawatts of power, like a gigawatt is 1 million homes. So think about how much power that's going to take, and hence the small nuclear reactors and why we're interested in those developments along the way. And last, these are massive machines. Hopefully you've been on the show floor, you've seen El Capitan, and that's just a small model of it. But people are deploying multiple El Capitans to do their AI model training. And it's impressive. I've been to some of the customer sites, and I am in awe. I'm a nerd. I'm an electrical engineer by degree, so I get excited about seeing computer hardware and it all working together. But if you don't have people that know how to set these systems up, deploy them quickly, and run them, you're going to have a lot of challenges. And so one of the things that I'm excited is that we bring these decades-long leadership experience to this problem. So like I said, there's El Capitan out on the show floor. It's a model. And it is the world's fastest supercomputer based on the top 500. We happen to have the top 3 fastest supercomputers in the world, and also 3 of the fastest in Europe in the top 500, the top 10. So we have 60% of the top 10. We are also really excited because El Capitan is also the fastest for mixed precision. This is a new benchmark, relatively new benchmark, that has come out over the last couple of years to look at exactly that, mixed precision. Some of you know HPC, we like our floating point 64, but with AI workloads, we need to go down to maybe FP8, int 8, et cetera. So that is what that benchmark looks at. The other thing that is really important as we talk about energy usage is efficiency. So we have 11 out of the top 20 green 500. This is a metric that shows that we're able to have lower PUE or best solutions in the market as far as energy. And this is done through our 100% fanless direct liquid cooling technology, which is part of our Cray EX. Again, go to the show floor. We'd love to talk to you about it. Cray has been, in fact, this next year will be 50 years of Cray, our first system that we shipped. And if you've never been to Chippewa Falls, which is where we have one of our manufacturing sites, you can go to the Cray Museum and see the lineage of the Cray architectures. And you'll see that our very first system had direct liquid cooling in it. So we've been doing this for 50 years. And we've tried everything, immersion to different fluids. We have, and that's why we have, over 300 patents on this over the last 50 years, because we've been investing because we know that it's important for performance. You don't want to have your CPUs or GPUs throttling because they've overheated. Very simple. So this is why we believe we are a unique partner for this growth in the scale-up AI. And we truly support the whole full AI lifecycle, that model development, training, fine-tuning, and inferencing. We want to make sure that we do from day 1 through end of life 2, so it's not just your AI journey, it's also your infrastructure journey. One of the things that Antonio announced yesterday is the expansion of our AI factory. So I'm going to focus more on the AI factory at scale and the sovereign AI. The PCAI, Antonio discussed that quite a bit out of our hybrid cloud. organization, and this is your application. It's a turnkey application. You want something up and running in 3 clicks. You want it within weeks. This is what you turn to. And you can buy a small, medium, large size. That's based on the number of GPUs. And it's a great way to try out in an enterprise AI and what it can do. Number of ISV partners. We have Deloitte and others working with us to deliver. Again, they've already developed agents, templates. It's supposed to be to help you ease into the AI journey. But if you're a model builder or a service provider and you want to stand up at scale AI systems, we also have an AI factory for that. And what we've found, and this is also in our HPC space, a lot of people have their own internal workloads or applications that they use, whether it's in our high-frequency trading organizations or these large language model builders. So we want to make sure that you can pick and choose what you need in order to set up your AI factory. And I have to keep things pretty simple. And so what is my definition of AI factory? Just like a factory that we've known from the Industrial Revolution, you have raw material coming in, it goes out with finished goods. Okay, an AI factory is bringing in that raw data and coming out with insights. So it's what you use to bring in your raw data and produce the results that you're needing to use in the future, okay? And so AI factory, we have the at scale, that is for the model builders and the service providers. But we also have the sovereign AI factory, which is going to look at more security and protection of your IP and data, because that's one of the requirements that we're finding with our sovereign entities. And here is the solution stack. So at the bottom layer, you're going to have the AI infrastructure. So this is where our portfolio, we have our XD line, which is about all your latest GPUs, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD. We have the ability to have it we have networking, we have storage, we have the servers, and we obviously have the liquid cooling. You go to the next stack, the control plane, and this is where we bring in Morpheus. And I know Antonio talked about it also in the keynote. This is your unified control plane. This is where you're going to have the ability to do multi-tenancy, access control, service catalogs, cluster management, et cetera. So this is your singular control plane, whether you actually are doing PC AI all the way up through AI at scale. And then on top, you have your AI workloads and your runtimes. This is where we really let you customize and put in what you need to be successful and how you're going to do that. Obviously, security and observability is core in order to have this, and that's where our ops ramp capability comes in. This was an acquisition last year. Antonio also talked about that. That's where you have your monitoring and observability. And this is all wrapped around with HPE services. This is our 24/7, our deployment installation, but then also maintaining it if you want. We can be there and make sure that it's stood up and maintained for you until end of life. And if you really want to be fast, you don't have a data center, we have the AI Mod Pod. I'm not a marketing person. You cannot accuse me of that name. But AI Mod Pod is, I feel like a flower child when I say that. We have a number of customers who don't have the time to set up a data center, but they have empty parking lots where employees with COVID aren't coming in. So they've turned their parking lots into data centers by bringing a fully integrated pod to site. We actually work with Danfoss for heat recovery if you want to use the heat within your building. Again, we're looking at getting less than 1.1 PUE, which is pretty good. It's a way to deliver it quickly, and that whole service is provided for you. There is an example of the Mod Pod on the show floor, so please check it out if you're interested. We'd love to talk to you about it. So with that, I talked about, we've talked a lot about personal AI, what our customers, some of our customers are doing it, and then I introduced the AI factory. But I'd like to go a little bit deeper in the AI factory. I'd like to introduce Sean. He is the Senior Director of Engineering for HPC and AI Cloud Services at HPE, and Sean's going to walk you through a demo. Hi, Sean.
Okay, good morning. So as Trish was mentioned, we're making it easy for you to manage your AI infrastructure and workloads through our software and control plane capabilities. So the systems that we're deploying, as Trish mentioned also, are very complex and large and require a number of diverse integrated tools in order just to run the AI jobs. With AI Factory at Scale, we will integrate these tools for you, streamlining and automating time-consuming and error-prone tasks so you can scale your infrastructure both in size and in number of users so the teams can focus on AI projects and unlock value faster. So we can go ahead and start the demo. So let's get started and show you the AI at Scale experience. After logging in, you see this dashboard, which shows you the entire infrastructure available to your factory. You have GPU compute, which shows you how many nodes you have, what the GPU utilization is. You have storage, whether it be bulk or object storage. And you can also see the networking down to the switch level across Ethernet and InfiniBand and see what the utilization is and which tenants are actually assigned to that. So while we're watching that, let's talk a little bit about stakeholders. Let's say you're a service provider and you're trying to provide AI services to your customers, or a sovereign who is broadening participation to the research community by opening up your resources, or a company that's supporting local startups in their AI journey. AI Factory at Scale gives you the ability to create tenants and assign custom environments to any of these use cases to support their users' AI workflows. So we have two compute nodes available to create a tenant. So we're going to create a tenant, set that user up. We could do it for training or for inference. And then you can dial in and see any metric that you want about the tenant, whether it be compute, storage, or networking, see the utilization. You can work with the tenant to help scale up or down dynamically the resources, depending on the needs of the dynamic infrastructure, the needs of the tenant at the time. So we can make it very flexible for you to be able to support any sort of stakeholders or users that need to use this infrastructure. So now that we've created a tenant, we need to have some features to help the tenants run specific workloads. This is HPE Morpheus. This is what it looks like from the tenant perspective. This is the catalog page. So HPE Morpheus simplifies the tenant experience, providing a one-click feature within a catalog to make it easy to create new workflows and deploy clusters, whether they be Kubernetes or Slurm clusters or whatever AI workflow you need. It also allows you to curate new workflows and set quotas. And as you can see, we work with a number of common tools to provide flexible environments, whether it be in Kubernetes environment or container runtime engines. So if you've ever manually deployed a Kubernetes cluster yourself, it's a challenging task. You have to install the software, the container runtime environment, set up the network, and then you have to validate the cluster. Doing this for one tenant on one infrastructure is hard, let alone doing it on demand for hundreds of tenants across thousands of GPUs. With HPE Morpheus, we make it easy. You just click the open source Kubernetes and enter some basic information, and the solution does the rest. It's not only easy, but it's also flexible. As you see, we have a number of different options for you to be able to choose. So through Morpheus, we simplify the deployment to take you from 0 to 75 in no time flat. Now, once you have a Kubernetes cluster, as we're seeing here, you want to do something useful on it, so we have to deploy an AI application on there, or AI workflow on there. And we'll offer a variety of solutions to do that. Here we are deploying a Jupyter notebook for training through a commonly used open source framework. The notebook is easily deployed, and the end result is a Jupyter hub that is assigned the GPUs that we just created with our Kubernetes cluster. As you can see, AI Factory at Scale is simple and flexible, and you can scale up end-to-end AI applications with it. It allows you to choose what is best for your customers without sacrificing the ease of use or ease of management. And speaking of flexibility, let's say your users want a more traditional high-performance computing experience where they can log on, set up their jobs, and submit to a Slurm queue. Again, setting up one Slurm cluster is pretty hard on one infrastructure, let alone doing it dynamically on demand for hundreds of tenants. Through HPE Morpheus, we make this as easy to set up a Slurm cluster as it is to set up a Kubernetes cluster. Just click, submit a little bit of information, and in no time, your users will be able to start submitting jobs to the GPUs through the Slurm queue. Observability is key, as we mentioned before, in managing your AI infrastructure. Our solutions offer a wide array of monitoring and metrics for you to see overall and tenant-specific resources. So whether you're the ML ops administrator or a user of the infrastructure, you will be able to get insight and have access to all of these metrics to help you manage your resources and potentially monetize your resources. And speaking of monetization, finally, when it comes to charging tenants, we will provide a very super flexible capability to do this. So you can choose how you want to charge any individual tenant based on any metric that we have in the monitoring, whether it be, for example, the GPU utilization or the storage utilization or the network utilization. Those can all be used to determine on-demand pricing for each of your individual tenants. You can also adjust the pricing based on current demand or current usage. So it's a super flexible capability to gain value out of your infrastructure. So as you can see, our AI factory at scale makes managing and utilizing large, complex AI infrastructure simple, flexible, and scalable. So you and your users can focus on jobs that need to be done for your business. If you want to see a more in-depth technical demonstration, we're over in the kiosk 833 on the show floor. We have a much longer demo, and you can talk to our experts. And so thank you. I'll hand it back over to Trish, and we can go back to the slide deck.
Thank you. Okay, so we've walked you through the AI factory. I'd like to start talking to some customers and bring up customers that are utilizing AI. And so with that, I'd like to welcome up Chris Madan from Telus. Telus is one of Canada's largest telecom providers and global digital players. So Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish.
So you wouldn't think that a telecom provider would be instrumental in Canada's sovereign AI. So you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. And I would say on the surface, it probably wouldn't be. And good morning, everyone. It's one of those things where if you look a little deeper beyond the surface, you look at Telus as an organization, we've been deeply rooted in the community needs across Canada. We understand our customers, we understand where they are, where they have been. We've supported them all the way from basic connectivity when you looked at things like landlines to the advent of broadband and internet and their other needs. And Telus as an organization is far more than what I would call a traditional telco. It's grown from being, I would say, a telco in Canada to a digital operator that now operates in over 60 countries. And we're helping Canada be at the forefront of the evolving AI landscape. You talked a lot about what's happened over the last few years, but if I look at all the Andres of the world that need to be supported, some of that infrastructure has to play out behind the scene, and we're playing a big role in that.
So what is driving, though, the sovereign AI strategies in Canada?
Yeah. Great question, and you talked a bit about sovereign and your conversations in Europe and how they played out. Those same conversations are happening in Canada. They're happening across the world, and sovereignty means so many different things to so many different players. But if you look at productivity, it's a big metric that we track, the economists track for our Canadian ecosystem, and being competitive in that space is really, really important. So. Canada lags in productivity metrics. It's a big initiative that the government, private, and public enterprises look at, and we need to continue to stay competitive in this space. And it's a big reason why you'll see a lot of announcements. Even the G7 2 weeks ago came up with a huge announcement on AI abilities and infrastructure. The other aspect, if you think about sovereignty, is how do you take the IP and keep it secure within your own borders? And that's true for things like innovation, it's true for things like healthcare, it's true for other industries where the movement of data and the movement of intellectual property is valued quite distinctly. And in Canada, it goes even a level lower. You go from the national sovereignty needs to actually provincial sovereignty needs. So if you're in places like Quebec or Ontario, they've got their own data needs and their own data requirements. So all these things just continue to play a role and be a factor. And then the last but not the least, I talked about productivity. When you don't have productivity, not only do you actually lag in a lot of the economic metrics that people care about, you also start to lose talent. Canada was at the forefront of the AI revolution. The father of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, came from the University of Toronto, and we've got Telus as one of the founding members of the Vector Institute, which is the largest AI research institute in Canada. And we hear from them all the time that they're losing talent. We're losing researchers. When you get to that cutting edge stage where you're going from an idea into potentially a startup or other places, AI infrastructure is a big part of what's needed over there.
Right. Okay, so you're planning to deploy this AI factory. Tell us about this.
Yeah, we are, I would say, in an early stage over here. We're planning to launch our first AI factory later this summer.
Right.
We go live at Rimouski, which is at the northern edge of Quebec in Canada. We already have an existing data center, a tier 3 data center that is highly secure and very sustainable. You talked a lot about power being an important aspect of what we can do in that space. And Telus's data centers, the two that we're planning to launch in, are some of the most highly rated and sustainable data centers. In fact, we have 99% free cooling. Again, the benefits of climate can sometimes help you in that space. So we want to launch with, I would say, an initial market test. We're testing it across a few different segments. I talked about the research institutes. We're also looking at enterprises and small businesses, and the public sector will probably play a role in that. And then longer term, we want to start to continue to expand and enable AI across the whole value chain, as you talked about, everything from inferencing to fine-tuning to training to edge computing, which we talked a little about yesterday as well.
Great. So, I'm a geek. We talked about that. So tell me about that technology, and why do you need that for your AI factory?
One of the things, purely from our brand, and this is now the marketer in me speaking, is that we have been committed from day one to bringing the best to market. And that's where the partnership with HPE, the partnership with NVIDIA that we've announced as our foundational pieces is really, really important. Access to state-of-the-art technologies. You shared a lot about building the top 3 supercomputers. Well, we want to be right there. We want to be a best-in-class, state-of-the-art. So we carefully curated and designed our AI factory solution. We want to be able to scale, which is the other piece you talked about.
Right.
And we want to make sure we partner with someone that has the ability to deliver the flexibility we need to rapidly scale.
I'm super excited about this journey, and I can't wait to see it come to fruition. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, one of the best parts about my job is working with customers and seeing them utilize the technology for good to do what they need to do. I'd like to invite up my next customer, who is from KDDI. So please welcome Tori Murata, who will talk also about the AI factory solution. And KDDI is one of Japan's leading telecom providers also.
Thank you.
So can you share some of your plans and how you're bringing AI to KDDI? I know you have had a long history of this, so just what's going on there?
Absolutely. So we've been investing in AI for years now. We have one air-cooled GPU infrastructure already running. But I need to say that the new infrastructure that we are building, it's a very big challenge for KDDI. And that is we're building a GB200 MVL72. And that is, the power is huge. It takes 130 kilowatts per rack. And the existing one that we have is just 10 kilowatt per rack. So it's more than 10 times what we have now. So we need water cooling for that. And as you mentioned, we have this GPU infrastructure to shorten the time of compute. So we need to deliver it fast, and we need to build it fast, actually. But we don't have the data center that we can provide water cooling. So how do we get that infrastructure fast? That was one challenge for us. So we decided to repurpose a factory. Actually, Sharp was going out of LCD business, so they wanted to sell their factory to someone. So we decided to repurpose it and use it as an AI data center. The reason is they have the power and they have the water for the cooling.
Yeah.
So we repurpose it. So instead of building a data center that takes 3 years, we're going to use this data center and then make the GPU available within this year. That's our plan. And also, getting a factory to shorten the time for deployment, that is important. But also, we need to build the GPU infrastructure.
Right.
And that, as you mentioned, that's not an easy task, and we need a good partner to make that happen. So that's where we are counting on HPE to build this HPC infrastructure. So with this, we're going to have this available within this year.
That's so cool. So I'd love to get a sneak peek about how you're going to be supporting both the mobile and enterprise customers.
Yeah, sure. One is our largest business is for mobile customers. We have 70 to 80% of our business to consumer business. We provide mobile phones to more than 30 million mobile customers. And we want to use AI for customer support first. That is the low-hanging fruit. So we can use AI-driven recommendations to optimize mobile plans for these customers. And on top of that, we want to provide that Android to all of our customers. So we want to make Gen AI available to all the mobile customers. We can use open source LLM and fine-tune it. We have our own resource to do the fine-tuning. And also we partner with Google. We announced that in April that we are partnering with Google so that we can bring their technology to this Osaka factory and then run the Gemma LLM and hopefully in the future even Gemini. We're going to run it so that we can provide it to our mobile customers.
Excellent.
And the next thing is enterprise customers. We have around 7,000 large enterprise customers in Japan. And we've been working with those customers to accelerate digital transformation, even before this AI movement. And so we see AI as a great tool to unlock the value so that we can do the digital transformation more effectively for these customers. So we're going to use AI to optimize their operation and boost the productivity. And last but not the least, okay. Internally, we want to use AI to optimize our networking and operation. So it's called Telco AI.
Right.
And we're going to build a digital twin of our mobile network and advanced training with more data. Feed the data and make it more accurate. So we're going to use it for future planning and also predict network outage so that we can replace equipment before it even fails. Perfect.
So I know you plan to advance these efforts in the next generation solution that we're working with you on. So tell us a little bit more about the benefits that we're going to see with this next gen solution.
Yeah, we have two things that we're looking into. And one is I mentioned about the power, and AI is power demanding. So we want to put power on the IT. AI is all about how much power we can feed. Of course, efficiency is important, but at the end of the day, we need power for the IT and power for cooling. And we don't want to spend power for cooling. We want to put everything on the IT side. So water cooling is perfect for that, but the reality is the GB200, we still need to air cool and also water cool. It's a hybrid cooling system. So if we can do everything by water cooling, that will be perfect. And I really
I have a
expect.
solution for you.
Yeah, I need your help on that. And also, AI capabilities. We build the infrastructure, but how to use it is more important. And the evolution is so rapid as we speak. So we need more capabilities to help us bring the value to customers, both for the enterprise and for the consumers. And we have high expectation, HP, to support. You did Morpheus, and even the AI applications on top of it, we're counting on.
Excellent. So thank you so much. It is always wonderful hearing about all your journeys, and I'm definitely going to come visit this data center when it's ready.
I'll get Andre ready for you. Thank you.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Thank you, Toru. Our next speaker is actually a partner, and Ansys. Ansys is a leader in engineering simulation. So I'd like to welcome Sanjay and Gadi to talk to us a little bit what you're doing.
I don't think I need this, but.
Okay, well, you can have it anyway.
Hello, everyone.
So talk to us about, I mean, you work with a ton of customers and their engineering simulations, and you've been doing AI, I know, for over a decade, right? So talk to me about some of the use cases of Ansys AI.
Sure. I think what Antonio mentioned in his keynote around unlocking innovation pretty much summarizes what all of us expect from AI, right? So, and you covered, I mean, we see and share the excitement with our customers across industries. So you've already covered some of the stuff in your session. So I'll focus on where we see it. So for us, we see AI in everything we do in simulation, from solver numerics to our optimization to in-app guidance, and we're very excited about it. So I'll focus your question to give you specific answers where our customers have seen across industries some gains, right? So we'll focus on three things. First is speed, second is agility, the third one is accessibility. So if you look at speed, our automotive customers now, because of the innovations around AI and simulation, can run up to 10 to 20x more design evaluations, which means I can do trade-offs of performance of product features versus performance and cost. And in many cases, AI has brought that total time that of simulation from weeks to months to a few minutes. That's huge, okay? That's on the speed side. And when you look at the next piece, which is the agility part, what some of our customers in industrial and infrastructure areas have seen is up to 34% compression in their engineering modeling time, which actually adds. And the reason this is possible is we have intelligent automations and optimizations possible because of the innovations we've done. Now take the speed and the agility. Now you have the third one, which is the accessibility. What does that mean? Traditionally, as all of you know, this is very complex tools in the simulation space. So now customers in high-tech industries are able to actually scale the use of simulation beyond the experts. So let me give you a couple of examples. Take your, if I look at the sales teams or our quoting team members, they're not experts in simulation. But through simple apps, we can actually put the power of simulation in their hands for answering early design questions, bidding on new designs, things like that. So these are some outcomes that you can think of. But I think just to leave you with, we talk about all these outcomes, we cannot achieve that without the right size computing, right? So whether it's GPUs, CPUs, hybrid cloud that we've heard. So I think it underscores the innovation that HPE is doing and what we're seeing in this conference so far.
Thank you. So I'm very excited about one of your new AI projects, Ansys Heart. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Just a quick background for the audience. So Ansys, as Trish already mentioned, we've been doing decades of support for medical devices and drug delivery and many other healthcare areas. So our CTO and research teams actually focused on a cardiovascular disease treatment and identification. Just to give you importance, I think I heard Antonio mention the St. Jude's example yesterday, right? So 30% of patients who receive a pacemaker implant do not get any benefit out of the implant, right? That's a huge and urgent problem to solve. The other ones, Trish mentioned in her example, regulatory evidence that is needed. It takes hundreds and thousands of actual clinical patient data to actually be accepted by the regulatory evidence. Those are two areas. So the teams, what Ansys team did is work with our industrial partners like Synopsys. We have academia, clinicians, and they set out with two main goals. The first one was, can we accelerate or advance the virtual or in silico, as it's called, validation and of identifying the cardiovascular disease as well as treating it. The second one is, for the regulatory purposes, can we use AI to create a cohort of large number of patients, which can then be used for regulatory purposes in evolution, right? So Ansys Heart, which we will show in a quick demo here, not play it yet, but it is, think of it as a art of the possible demonstration we've built with partners like NVIDIA, Simpleware from Synopsys, academics, and the clinicians, okay? So if you can roll the video, please. So think of, we talked about accessibility, right? Think of this is a conversational application where a clinician can upload a patient's heart CT scan and say, I want to do an assessment of where it stands in terms of a particular treatment. So they can ask for either 1 chamber, 4 chambers, or ask for electrophysiological, which is basically what happens when electrical waves travel through the heart. They can ask for a pure mechanics or a coupled one. And what you're seeing on screen right now was the clinician asking for the fiber orientation. This has an important impact on the strength of the muscles to actually do propagation of the waves, right? And then you can look at different multiphysics analysis on what is actually happening for that patient-specific geometry. And you can have visualization, which is also automated, for quantities of interest that the clinician looks at. It could be ECG, pressure volume loops, things like that. So there's a lot of technology that goes into this. So we are able to bring this kind of open innovation because of the work we've done with on the AI side with our partners, right? Just 2 data points I'll give you. You saw the scanning, when you provide a CT scan to the software, to convert it from a 4D scan to a simulation run ready model can be now done under 20 minutes using Simpleware's AI solutions. This was traditionally a very complex problem. It's not easy to segment that data. That's one example, right? And lastly, on the multiphysics stuff that we do, it takes, in our solver LS-DYNA, 1 to 1.5 hours to solve 1 heartbeat. And we typically look for 4 to 5 heartbeats for what we call convergence. And thanks to HP and other partners, that's where we can actually parallelize that solve part to take it to the next level, right? So again, it highlights the importance of the infrastructure here as well.
And again, one of my favorite, the health. And in fact, it's personal because my mother is going in for heart surgery in July. So I'm hoping that these advancements continue. So amazing what you've been able to do. Talk about some of the more innovations you see coming along.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of buzz around AI, right? So I'll keep it simple. We see customers actually have a lot of AI initiatives which are driven both top-down and bottom-up, right? And each of our customers are at different levels of maturity. And I say this because they're trying to figure out, where do I focus on, which AI applications do I prioritize first, which area makes sense, and then building a sound data and infrastructure strategy to support your AI. You can't it's not a shiny science project anymore, right? And the third one is the skill sets. So if you looked at that Pi Heart example we gave you, it took an army, right? We said simulation experts, clinical experts, doctors, and industry infrastructure experts. And within our own, I always say unicorns are not there. What I mean is, it takes mechanical, fluids, and electromagnetic simulation to do what we did. You can't find one person who can do all of those things. So the devil is always in the details, right, as you go there. But we feel customers like yourselves, as you look for more high-powered AI application, you will drive the innovation from us and partners like HPE, right? And we have a long history with HPE on HPC especially. And I think we see this extending to the AI domain where reference architectures, doing the right deployment architectures. So we hope we can both jointly unlock your innovation going forward. So,
Well, thank you so much, Sanjay.
Thanks a lot.
That's great. So what I hope you walk away with is we are your partner for accelerating innovation at AI at scale and fast track your deployments with HPE, wherever you are on your AI journey. I can't leave without giving you some call to actions. So these are some of the sessions that you can go to, also some of the demos on the show floor. And I wish that you all have an Andre to help you have a successful life. Thank you all.